Welcome to another episode of Not Just a Fad. It's your host, Hannah, here. Today's guest is Mercy Sosa, our digital editor.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Hannah.
Yes, of course. Before we start talking about our segment today, we're going to be sharing our details of our OOTDs. I'm wearing this corduroy varsity jacket. The brand is Material Girl, but I thrifted it from work. I'm not sponsoring Crossroads, but that's all I wear. It's very street style, kind of like Julian. We'll get into that. And I'm wearing these dad jorts, which are denim jean shorts with Stan Smiths. You can't see it except the jacket, but period.
Do I have to talk about my outfit?
Yes.
Yeah, huh? All right, so I am not as thrifty as Hannah right now. I love thrifting, but these are both from Ross. All my Mexican girls know and love Ross. So yeah, I mean both the jacket and the shirt. This is kind of like, this is not in style anymore, but it has like the little corset thing right here. And this is just like a big flannel, and I felt like when I put it on this morning, it was giving Zoya, right?
Like oversized,
yeah.
Comfy.
Which is very in right now, the
And it's fall,
oversized
too.
look. And it's fall, and I
Perfect.
like the brown tones for fall, so. I also have some high-waisted mom jeans and some New Balances, which you can't see, and they don't really match my outfit, so I don't want to show them either.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the show Gossip Girl, the old one, which aired in 2007. And then the last episode was 2012, so quite a long time ago. We're going to be comparing the characters from there to the new reboot, which is also called Gossip Girl, which first aired over a year ago. So, I mean, we're going to talk about the fashion and obviously like the characters and comparing them. But let me just explain or give a brief synopsis of like the show. So basically, they're these wealthy kids in New York, Manhattan. They go to this private school. And then, yeah, they're all, like popular in the same crowd. Well, at least most of them are. And there's this, would you call it a stalker? I mean, he's not really stalking them. Like,
Well, Gossip Girl is like
revealing all their secrets.
I wouldn't say it's like stalker like in Pretty Little Liars, but for sure has some stalking components because they are being exposed and it is like private details. But yeah, I don't know. That's a weird thing to like label Gossip Girl as something.
Oh, well, it is a online blog.
Yeah.
So it's this. Oh, there's gonna be spoilers, obviously. So Gossip Girl, who is Dan, one of the main characters, he started this online blog because he's like, he goes to school with them, but he's not part of the popular crowd. He's from Brooklyn. While they're all from Manhattan, but basically he exposes all their secrets and it causes a lot of tension and drama throughout all the seasons.
Yeah, it's because he's simping for Serena.
No, literally.
So he wants to be part of the crowd and involved in the gossip. So by making Gossip Girl, he added himself in there, right?
And then the new one is more kind of the same version, but now since it's in like 2021, social media, it's like this big part of our lives now, and it makes it a lot more interesting because now it's an app. Well, it's not an app. It's on Instagram.
It's an account on Instagram, and I believe it was created by the teachers,
which is weird.
They go to school with. Yeah, very interesting that some adults are picking on some students,
just because
students,
underage
students. Underage.
So let's get into it. The first character we'll be comparing is Serena. Serena's outfits are very, girly. Like, she's seen as the it girl before, she left, and then, like, they all party a lot. But she's kind of like the life of the party in some way. So that kind of means, like, she wears very, not eccentric things, but statement pieces, I don't know how else to describe her outfit. Like,
I don't know. She gives me like a breezy vibe, like very carefree. isn't as proper as Blair.
Definitely.
So she'll like mix it up. She likes to wear a lot of like, it looks like light clothing sometimes. Her gowns are always like very sparkly. So she likes to stand out. She still likes to stand out. But definitely not, she tries to differentiate herself from her very proper,
That is
true, high class peers, but while still wearing like,
the uniform.
The uniform and very, I'm assuming, very expensive clothing.
Yeah,
you know what
all
I mean?
of them are probably wearing expensive clothing, all the designer you can think of.
Yeah, and then at the time, I think Gossip Girl actually, the costumes that they were getting were actually from these high fashion brands who wanted exposure. So that's also something interesting. So of course they were all wearing actual like high fashion runway clothing.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. But even Serena, like throughout the seasons, you can tell she's very passionate about fashion. Like that's kind of what she wanted to do after they graduated from high school. But yeah, Serena, even from the very first episode, you can tell like obviously they have uniforms for school, but how she kind of mixes it up. Like she's wearing one of the neckties, but like in her own type of way.
So do you remember actually when, I think this was the graduation episode when they're all graduating, and she literally tied the tassel to her hair. That's how quirky she wants to be. She wants to be so different from everyone else.
She's so interesting. I remember people like tweeting about that and talking about like who decided to do that, like instead of wearing, the cap like everyone else. Yeah, hilarious. But that's Serena for you. Like even her hair, she would just like do it in braids and they'd be messy, but I guess it's a look for her. I mean, it says a lot about her character, obviously.
I mean, also she's really pretty and she's a blonde. Like she could
and
get
tall.
away.
She's
and
so
tall. Like, she fits the beauty standard, so it's very easy for her to get away with these things.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like everyone in the show, despite all her flaws, loved her because she was so pretty and because she knew how to dress and was different from everybody, which I think like they tried to or they envied potentially,
especially Blair. So in the new the reboot, there's Audrey. I don't know, when I see Audrey, personality wise, I see Blair more.
Yes, definitely.
But I also see her, well, even fashion wise too, but Audrey, she's, I can't explain. She likes to read. she does like to read. She always has a book in her hand.
She does.
Like when I think of her, I think of like collared shirts and ties too. She wears ties too, and like tights. She always wears tights and then like booties. Like very preppy look, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Out of all of them,
yeah,
she's the most preppy in the newer version.
She definitely gives me that more classical preppy look that you mentioned. Am I wrong? Did she wear a headband at some point? I feel like she probably did.
I think she has.
And then I don't know. She definitely does give me more Blair vibes in terms of being super proper and like the plaid and very clean.
Yeah, she's very put together.
She's very put together, but I would say her and Serena are the most similar in the sense that Audrey is like not the main character really, because I feel like in the original Gossip Girl, Serena was at some point in the beginning.
Audrey's blonde too,
but then it transitioned into Blair, and then she became more of like, I feel like, the main character. So I feel like Audrey also encompasses that, where she's the friend, she's the one who's like, she's doing some wild stuff, as we saw in the reboot. Audrey was just doing her thing with
those two guys.
Those two guys.
No, I totally agree. But she's my favorite character. I love her. But
yeah.
Okay, we won't talk about that. But yeah, she's very preppy, and she wears like scarves too, like silk satin scarves, which I feel is like a staple piece for her.
Yes, I mean, honestly, like I don't really know what else to say about Audrey. She stands out. I will say she stands out the most out of anyone in the reboot, but I wouldn't say it's like she has.
I don't think it's because of her fashion though.
I don't think it's because of her fashion.
It's her personality.
It's her personality. And I think it's because she fits the more like preppy thing that I feel like makes me feel a little nostalgia for the original one,
Yeah.
but she doesn't have like that standout piece like Serena or Blair did. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's actually like a common theme with probably all of the characters in the reboot is what is their standout piece,
Yeah.
like outfit.
That's so true. I don't think any of them have one, really.
Yeah.
I think it's because now, well, obviously how we dress now is so different from how they dressed in the back then.
very, very different. Because
In
one
shows
thing
and
I
in
did
real life.
notice is that they're more laid back in the reboot. Like
Mhm.
they have the more oversized. They wear like sneakers and biker shorts, which
Boots,
is
like combat boots.
yeah, which is definitely more popular now. Is that like chill, laid back look while being very high maintenance, as
Mhm.
we saw with Monet.
Oh, that girl. So next up is Blair. We already kind of talked about her, but you know, everyone knows Blair as the one thing I could use, or one piece of like an item to describe her would be a headband.
Yes,
Like every outfit, she's always wearing a headband no matter what. That's just her signature look.
that I think that was her way to stand out and also to, you know, show everyone like I'm the queen bee. This is I think it was her like symbol of status. Which we even saw when she passed down the headband to Jenny when she wanted her to be the
That
next queen
iconic
bee.
scene.
That
kind of reminds me. I was gonna talk about it later, but we can talk about it now. The whole cause Julian, the new queen bee in the reboot, she kind of did that with Zoya, her sister, when she gave the scarf at the Met steps.
Wait,
Do you
no,
remember
but
that?
then also she gave her the Beyonce superstar shoes. Remember, she
Oh
had nailed them to
but
her
then
too.
when she did the scarf, you know, she like put it around her
That's
in front of
right.
everyone.
That is right.
So it's kind of like the headband type thing.
Yeah. Do you think that she meant to like signify that as like, okay, I want you to be the next like queen bee, or she was just like she's part of the crowd now?
I think she's more part of the crowd, definitely, because
Yeah.
Julian always wants to be the center of attention. Like you can see that throughout all the episodes. But yeah, when I see Blair, yeah, she's very preppy, very different from Serena. Very put together. Like Serena, to be honest, is a mess. Like her personality and like how she dresses too. Like Blair is the total opposite. They're so different from one another. So I'm pretty sure that's why, you know, they're best friends in the show, even though they're always on and off again.
They
But-
complement each other while
yeah,
also, like,
exactly. And Blair's a
driving each
brunette.
other mad. Yeah.
You know, and she's not she's not tall. She's not like Serena. So I think that's also why, like you mentioned earlier, why she has to try more.
And then also her mom is the owner of like what is it, Waldorf Designs or something like that.
She's a fashion designer.
She's a fashion designer. So even from the first episode when her mom was like, "Oh, like you should have told me you were gonna wear like one of the designs. I would have had it like fitted for you or something like that." Some like snarky remark.
Yeah.
And you can see that like Blair, you know, that kind of hurts her, like those kind of comments, because she wants to be the best and she wants to please her mom. And like later on in the season, she actually starts her own collection under her mom's company as well. So you know that she wants to be involved in this high fashion world. In a way different than Serena though, because Serena is more of like, to me, she was more of like the model, like yeah, she wants to like show off her fashion, but not in the same way as where Blair saw it as a career,
like a
you know?
business.
Like a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like Blair had so much pressure put onto her because of her mom.
Yes.
So that's most likely why she would always have to like get her attention, you know? Like she would have to try much harder. So
And then also something about Blair that I noticed, she has like a lot of prints. She does make a lot of statements. Like some
Oh,
of
yeah, a lot
her
of
clothing was a
prints.
little out there, but like acceptable in a high fashion world where like you can tell like, oh, this is couture, or like, oh, this was designed like really like someone sewed this, like took their
Yeah.
time. This is like high quality. So you could see that with Blair. She wanted to be seen as, well, rich. because she was very classist.
Oh my god.
I mean, there's themes of that in both the original and the reboot, but definitely very prominent within the original, where she didn't mean Dan and Jenny because they were from Brooklyn, even though they were probably paying still like a lot of money for
that loft they had. But Blair and Audrey, Blair also wears tights. Like, I noticed whenever she's wearing a dress, she's wearing tights most of the time with like heels, like really high heels, and she would even wear very bold colors. Like, sometimes she would wear yellow or orange or like red, like bright colors, which I wouldn't really expect from her, just because, like, I don't know, I feel like she's more a neutral type girl. But
you would think she would be more reserved because she's proper, but she really isn't. And you can see that with her like mean girl facade, and her relationship with Chuck. She isn't as much of a saint as she wants to portray sometimes. Yeah. And I think by adding those decisions to like have her wear pops of color, or I don't know, just like more adult clothing, what it seemed like sometimes. Yeah. I think that decision was on purpose to demonstrate like, oh, like, yeah, she dresses proper, but she still has this quote unquote wild side to her.
Now we can start getting to the guys. I mean, we can also talk about like...
Wait, did we talk about Julian?
Julian?
Yeah, because we weren't going to compare Julian.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to talk about Julian and Zoya together.
Okay.
Just because, yeah. So Nate. To be honest, I think Nate is the most boring character ever.
I'm so happy you said that. And where like, was the storyline?
Fashion-wise, too. Because he was just the typical, like, prep school jock boy, like, I can't really describe a style for him. Even once they graduated high school and once he started working for the his grandfather's newspaper, like, he just wore like suit and ties the whole time.
But you know what? I feel like that was an accurate portrayal. Like, he dressed like every straight white man that has money. Like, you know what I mean? So like, true. Very just buttoned down, like, or whenever he was doing his jock stuff, like, athletic wear. But he never really cared about the materialistic things.
That's true.
So I think they wanted Nate to be more relatable and laid back. And he was never really the focus of, like, the storylines, honestly. He seemed more of a background character. So I don't think they even tried to put that much effort into what he was wearing. Yeah. And also, I'm sorry, Nate was pretty hot. So, like, like, there wasn't really much of a need to dress him up anyways.
Yeah, because he would look good in, like, the most simple things. Yeah.
Which is funny because Serena is also, like,
the same way.
But with her, it's different because she's a woman, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's just easier. Or no, it's harder to dress girls.
Yes.
Like, we have a lot more components to our outfits, while guys, they can just wear a shirt and pants. Like, that's it. Like, it's kind of, but nowadays, obviously, it's like getting more, we can wear anything.
Yeah. Which, what I will say about the reboot is that the male wardrobe, I feel, was definitely a step up compared to the original.
We can literally segue into talking about, like, Aki.
Yes.
Like, I love that man.
Aki,
his fashion is just great.
Aki, man.
I was gonna like compare him to Nate. The only reason, because they're kind of like the main guys. Well, I don't know. They're similar just because they both are in sports, and they're both rich. I mean, they're all rich, kind of. But
well, like, I will say that both of them are pretty laid back, and generally. I mean, I don't know if you disagree, and I may be missing some stuff that happened in the reboot, but they seemed pretty non-problematic in the sense that, like, they weren't ever really the ones to start drama. They were just involved in it.
So true. You know what? I remember in the old Gossip Girl, when they found out whoever sent the text in, Nate sent none of them about anyone.
Yeah.
That's so true. Oh my gosh.
And Aki's the same way, but the difference about Aki is that he has taste.
Like, fashion-wise, right? No, definitely. Like, okay, so the easiest way to describe him, he's a skater boy. It's Evan Mock playing him, so that is why he's a skater in real life. So literally what he wears in the show is what he wears, like, in real life.
Yes, and I don't know if any of you guys have met skaters, but they really care about what they wear. It's like very like baggy, like jeans,
They
and
want to be comfy.
they want to be comfy, but like
in a stylish
in
way.
a stylish way.
Uh-huh.
Their clothing, I don't want to generalize, but typically sometimes it's like thrifted, but it's like high quality thrifted. It's like stuff like Champion or I don't know, brands like that where it's like these big sweaters, or like they'll wear like the jean jackets or the flannels, stuff like that. And I don't know if Aki necessarily like fit that 100%, but he definitely fit that kind of vibe.
Yeah. Because he also would wear, I feel like a lot, like, yeah, stereotypically, skater boys, they kind of wear, they kind of have that, you know, when you peek out the collar and then they wear a sweater over. He does that sometimes. And then he's just wearing like khakis or whatever because, you know, he's still in school uniform, or he's just wearing a hoodie, like a baggy hoodie, and it still looks good together. But yeah, his accessory is his skateboard. Like
his no, actually I would say his accessory is his hair.
His hair.
I loved his hair.
Yeah.
I feel like automatically just seeing him, like I immediately loved him because of his hair. I'll be quite honest, like he just stood out from everyone. I loved that they decided to dye his hair, and I don't know if the actor already had it like that, but kudos to him if he did, because that was a great decision and definitely elevated him compared to some of his peers who like were.
Yeah, and the color of his hair is pink. Like,
yes,
like of course it should be that color. Like
Yeah.
it's super out of, well, you know, it's a bright color.
It's a bright color, and I don't know, it seems very I feel like it's very trendy right now for guys to, you know, do that shave buzzed cut look with the like the bleach or like the pink, and it's this very like edgy cool look, which I think also made him, I guess, be part of the crowd, was that he was edgy and he was fashion forward, I guess you can say.
And also he has, well, Evan Mock has tattoos, but his character has tattoos. They could have decided to like, you know, like take that out. And then he has piercings along with Obi, who also has piercings. You know, I don't know, that kind of made them like, okay, like, because if you had that back then, I feel like you would definitely be judged, even just the hair color.
Yes, I feel like their parents would say something about it.
Exactly, but now since we're in, I keep wanting to say 21st century, but that was still the 21st century.
Yeah. Well, now that we're in like the 20s, because back then it was the what, like early 2000s and then early 2010s. So they were still in that era where it was like piercings and tattoos and dyeing your hair were looked down upon, or they were seen, I guess, less than. I think especially sometimes because of the people who would like wear those kind of things, which I think that was like a very negative judgment that they had back then. And so right now they're trying to show that they're more carefree, and even the parents seem to like not really subscribe to the really proper way anymore.
Yeah, they don't really care about what they wear anymore compared to the parents in the original Gossip Girl.
Yes, 100%.
So next is Chuck and Max. They're definitely the ones that are the same person, same everything, which I love, because Chuck's a very, well, he's not a good character, but you know, he's a very interesting character as well as Max. They can literally be like brothers or something. Like,
yes, but I also feel like Max was definitely a tiny bit more humble than Chuck was, because you know how like he was like, I'm Chuck Bass. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
that's true.
I don't know.
True. But like fashion wise, you know, they wear like scarves. That's all I can think of, like the scarves that they would always have like around their neck. Or
yes, I feel like I'm trying to see what Max would wear. I think I remember him wearing more like silky like shirts.
He wears a lot of button-ups too, but like more casual ones. And then his shoes, he wears like loafers a lot.
Loafers, yeah. I think also though Max and Chuck, like the similarity was whenever like they're going through it, like you can see it through their character.
That's so
And like how their
true.
hair is all like, you know, messed up, and their clothes are like all like you can tell like they slept in them like the night
Mm-hmm.
before, because they both seem to have similar issues of like, you know, just being part of certain activities that you wouldn't necessarily want teenagers to be active in.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely I feel like Max though was more carefree and more willing to show like his body compared to Chuck, who is this very like similar to Blair, which is I think also why they were a couple in the show. Very proper, very businessman with his like his suits and
Mm-hmm.
his tie. And then I think he had a bow tie phase, didn't he?
Yes, he
And then in
did.
the beginning of the show, they tried to like do the whole scarf thing, which they quickly let go of. But they were just trying
Max
to
also
show.
wears bow ties, right? I think he does.
I am not 100% sure on that, but I feel like he would.
No,
Like I wouldn't put
literally.
it past him to wear like a bow
Uh
tie.
huh.
But yeah,
Yeah, it's really easy to talk about them just because they're so similar.
they are. They are, but they aren't.
Yeah. Character wise,
Like I feel like they're in the similar situations
yeah.
where, you know, they have issues with their parents. They have issues with
People
perhaps
who they date.
with who they
Yeah.
date, substance abuse, just like a very carefree life, if you
Mhm.
want to say that. I don't know. But those are their similarities. But personality wise, I would say Chuck is definitely more classist,
Blair.
kind of like Blair was.
Mhm.
So yeah.
So next one up, well, kind of last, but not really, is Dan and Obi, the hipsters.
Yes, no, like they're different than other people or other girls. Like
Yeah.
they don't really, or at least I don't know about Obi 100% because I feel like he put a bit more effort, but Dan definitely didn't give a fuck. Like Dan just, you know, wanted to show up in his regular uniform and then like wore casual things I guess consistently.
Well, yeah, but I think a big part of that is because he's from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So they made him seem like they didn't have any money, well, compared to the rest of them, along with like Jenny. Um,
But Jenny, like, even though she was from Brooklyn, her fashion designer, you know,
she found a way to
she found a
make it look
way.
cute and all,
Yeah.
yeah, and her, her own style and everything, which is why later on, Blair envied her a lot.
I think Dan definitely didn't care about style to that extent. And he, you know, he was a writer.
Yeah.
I think he definitely looked like they tried to make him look like he was like a bookworm writer.
And he was like a good student too, you know. That's why when he started dating Serena, I think he got a little like insecure because he was like, oh my god, how am I gonna fit in? What am I gonna wear? Like, especially when they had their big parties and events, and everyone's dressing up at those events. Like, it shows a lot through their characters. And yeah, Dan would always just wear something super like simple and laid back.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of similar to Nate. Like Dan and Nate didn't really like have to, I feel like, dress up because they're like men aren't as, at least at that like
Yeah,
time
unless
period.
you're Chuck.
They weren't, yeah, unless they're Chuck, who's this businessman. Like they weren't expected to dress up unless there was an occasion. I will say though, I think towards the end of the original Gossip Girl show, I think they tried to make him look a bit more polished because that's when he started to have his like writing published and stuff. So
Yeah, and
you
then
could tell
his
he
dad
got more
married.
money.
Yeah, more money because of the marriage between Serena's mom and his dad. But yeah, their hipster was the perfect way to describe it. Like that's
Yes.
what I could think of like for both of them. And they
Yes.
just both stood up for what they believed in, and that showed a lot in how they dressed somewhat.
Let's talk about Obi though, because Obi wanted to be a saint, you know. He
Oh my
wanted to
God.
be
Obi's-
different than
yeah.
other girls. He wanted to even though he came from a very rich family, he wanted to show that he didn't necessarily like subscribe to their beliefs and wanted to be like, you know, like very much involved with social justice, as we saw like that one episode when he went to the protest, stuff like that. I feel like Obi, like, he did grow up with money though. And I think the difference between him and Dan was just, I guess, the quality of the clothing that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Obi, you can tell, like, he was more laid back, but he still dressed somewhat nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It wasn't like bad.
It wasn't, but it definitely still, I would still categorize it under hipster.
Yeah, but I also, a part of him that made him a hipster was he has like a piercing. Like I noticed that so like, quickly when I first like watched the new one. But
I'll be
yeah.
honest, I don't think I ever really noticed it.
Yeah, he has like one piercing and it's a like a hoop one too. So
Oh,
it's kind
yeah,
of prominent in
true.
some way. But I think the last people we're going to talk about, I mean, we kind of already talked about Julian, but I think we should get more into Zoya. They both
Yes.
show they show a lot of trends from today, but in very different ways or different aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
Julian's more like she wears biker shorts, like varsity jackets, bomber jackets, and then like sneakers, or sometimes she would wear it with like boots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then Zoya's more, she wears hoodies, but then plaid like overall skirt or a dress. She also wears sneakers or like combat boots. You know, it's very like things we'd wear nowadays.
Yes, I would say, well, Julian is an influencer.
Mm-hmm.
That is her brand. So she wants to, I guess, keep following the trends and wearing the biker shorts and like the varsity jackets and all that, which is very popular. I think Zoya, and we could see this definitely through the show, she's trying to discover
Who she is.
And while still maintaining parts of her previous self before she joined the school, while also getting advice from Monet on how to dress, on how to act. And then she's gifted shoes by Julian,
Yeah.
and then the dress too, like for the fashion show, which I think I actually kind of liked that look.
Mm-hmm.
But Zoya, she was more laid back, but she still, like, I feel like she still had style. It was more, I don't know how to say it, like earthy,
Mm-hmm.
like very, not hipster, but somewhere like along those lines. Because she
Like
also too
indie.
yes, I feel like she definitely dressed a bit more indie, not hipster, but she also cared a lot about the causes that Obi cared about. And I
Mhm.
feel like you could definitely see that. Also, didn't she have like a bag or something with like
Oh,
one
like a
of-
tote bag.
like a tote
with
bag?
like a patch, or was it a patch or like a pin?
Yes, like
Yeah.
stuff like that. So she definitely was like a tote bag type of girl.
Mm-hmm.
So she was more laid back. She didn't have like the look that, Julian or perhaps Audrey or Monet had, which is very like, I guess you could say, high fashion.
Yeah. And you
yeah.
can like see more of her style when they're out of school, you know, when like Obi
Mhm.
tries to like visit her, or when she's just in her room with her like dad. She wears like denim overalls and then like a crop top under with just like sneakers, or oversized
Yes.
knit sweaters with like like quirky prints.
Yes.
Yeah, it really works for her, and it does say a lot about her. She's very opinionated.
She is. She is. I will say though, like, don't find me, but I really did enjoy Zoya's style.
No,
I
same.
thought it was better than Julian's.
Yeah,
to
I
be
don't like
honest.
Julian's style. Julian is very street style. Like that's the only
Mhm.
way I can describe it, cuz I just picture her with biker shorts all the time. I mean, yeah, she'll wear a scarf every now and then, but she's more with the whole street style thing, like sneakers. Yeah, that's all I see.
I'll be honest, I feel like Julian was kind of basic.
Yeah.
She was very basic.
Mhm.
And, I don't know if it's because she was an influencer and that was her brand.
But
or...
it matches her character.
It does.
Like she would be wearing that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like it makes sense.
And then also, I think something we forgot to mention was Julian is bald.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't have hair, and I guess that's her, like, statement, too, similar to Aki. But just
she
because...
works it though. Like
She works it.
it looks good.
I
on her.
loved it, but just because you're, like, you have that statement hair doesn't mean that, like, the rest of your outfit has to be basic. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I feel like Zoya, I don't know. There's just something about her that was different in a good way.
I mean, maybe it's because she's also from Brooklyn, you know?
No, yeah, I would say honestly, Zoya kind of reminds me of Jenny, where they're from this other area, not where everyone else grew up in, which like Manhattan, like the Upper East Side.
Mm-hmm.
And she still tries to style the uniform or, what she's wearing,
Mm-hmm.
even though she perhaps does not have the same access to perhaps like high fashion like Julian does or Audrey does. But definitely they do style up their looks.
Actually, I don't even think Zoya's from Brooklyn. I think she's just not
from Manhattan. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember when they were asking her, like, when she gave her address, like, they were saying, like, they were kind of still judging her in some way, but, like, because she transferred to this school, so she was new, and then obviously they're gonna judge her. And then when they see her outfit, she was walking up the Met steps, they were all, like, looking, especially Audrey.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole scene where they were all like sitting there, and then Zoya comes in, like it just shows how the rest of the show is gonna go. And then yeah, when you look at their outfits, you can just analyze every single thing about their personalities.
I think the loudest, like the people or the characters that were the loudest in their judgment was definitely Luna and Monet.
The sidekicks. No, I'm just kidding.
The sidekicks. And I think I messed up. I think it was Luna who was helping Zoya.
Yeah. Later on.
Yeah, but like the sidekicks or like the girlies who wanted to, make sure that Julian was the top influencer at the school. Her management basically.
No,
as
yeah.
like it felt like sometimes.
Mhm.
They were very judgmental and not afraid to look down upon people who had like less money or didn't have like the trendy outfits. And Luna was very high maintenance with how like she posed or like how she like just how she lived.
Yeah.
She was just doing some crazy stuff, and I think that's what she was trying to like impart on Zoya, and Zoya quickly gave that up.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show that despite the progression that perhaps we think there is, there's still that element of judgment for people who don't necessarily subscribe to the same, I guess, trendy style.
And then I didn't want to like talk about Luna and Monet a lot, just because they are kind of like the background characters. I mean, they're still there, but their outfits are fairly similar with one another. It's kind of, they're both preppy, they are two like characters who kind of bring back the old Gossip Girl. If I don't know, that's how I see them.
Yeah, they I don't know, like they definitely dress similarly, and I think it's because they were also very close. I will say though that compared to Blair's, because Blair had her minions, and I guess Luna and Monet are Julian's minions. They have more say on their individuality, and
because Julian's not that mean compared to Blair.
Yes,
which is different.
And then you can see that when I believe Monet was the one who stepped away from being part of Julian's little management group or whatever, like, or the friend group, and then ended up going with somebody else, I guess, at the school, right? Or I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyways, like, I feel like their individuality was there. Was their fashion necessarily like something like, oh wow, like that's a look, or like I can tell who her character is based off of this? Not really. And I think it's because perhaps her, like Luna and Monet, were close to each other, and also because they were supposed to be Julian's sidekicks as well. Like, if you think about Blair's sidekicks or minions, whatever you want to call them, they didn't necessarily stand out either.
Yeah, but you can tell that Luna and Monet, they both come from a background that's like, they have money.
Yes.
Because the stuff they're wearing, like, pearls or like tweed like jackets.
Yeah, I feel like they were more of that Chanel vibe.
Yes, that's exactly, yeah, I can definitely see that. And then I'm pretty sure they wear like a bunch of like designer purses and heels.
Yes, they definitely flaunt their money, for sure. And I think that's why they're also very judgmental, because if somebody doesn't fit that same style, they don't want to be a part of it.
Literally. But I mean, that's pretty much it. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, well, that's it for this episode. It was pretty long. There's just so many characters from the new one. It's like overwhelming. But thank you for joining me, Mercy.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I
Yes.
had so much fun.
I'm so glad.
And I want to go back and watch the reboot again because honestly, like, I'm like trying to see if anyone stands out at this point.
And also the old one, like I kind of forget because there's so many seasons.
There, like, isn't there like 6?
Yeah,
And then
they're
it kind
all
of
a lot
faltered.
episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you everyone. I'll see you in my next episode. Bye.
Bye.